Poor bride rejected for being paralyzed, until a single dad did the unthinkable. The church bells were still echoing when Lena heard the laughter, not the kind that warms hearts, but the kind that breaks them. She sat quietly in her wheelchair, bouquet trembling in her hands as the groom's mother whispered harshly to her son at the altar. A moment later, the man who once swore to love her in sickness and in health turned his back and walked away, leaving her humiliated in front of everyone. Gasps filled the room. Cameras recorded. Someone even posted, "The poor cripple thought she could be a bride." Lena didn't cry. Not there. Not where they could see. But when she wheeled herself out of that church, under the falling rain, her white dress soaked and heavy, her heart shattered so quietly that even heaven seemed to pause. It had been 2 years since the accident, the crash that took her legs, her dreams, and nearly her will to live. Once a ballet instructor, Lena now worked at a small bookstore, where she often smiled through the pain, helping customers reach for novels she could no longer stand tall enough to grasp herself. She believed she'd learned to live with loss, until today proved her wrong. As she struggled to push her chair through the rain, the bouquet slipped from her lap and scattered across the pavement. A man rushing past stopped suddenly. He picked up the flowers, his coat already soaked. He looked at her, really looked, not with pity but with warmth. "You shouldn't be out here alone," he said gently. She shook her head, embarrassed. "Please, I'm fine, just having a bad day." He hesitated, then knelt beside her despite the puddles. "I'm Jack," he said, holding out the bouquet like it was something sacred. And bad days don't end alone. Jack was a single dad, a mechanic who raised his 7-year-old daughter, Ellie, on his own after losing his wife to cancer. Life had been unkind to him too, but he never lost his kindness. When he saw Lena's trembling hands, something in him refused to walk away. He drove her home, listened to her story, and didn't interrupt once. When she finally broke down, he didn't offer advice, just silence, presence, and understanding. Over the next few weeks, Jack kept showing up, bringing Ellie to the bookstore, bringing laughter where pain once lived. Lena tried to keep her distance. "You don't have to do this, Jack," she'd say. But he'd just smile. "Maybe I need to." One evening, Ellie asked Lena, "Miss Lena, do you ever dance anymore?" Lena froze. Not since the accident, sweetheart." Ellie frowned. "But my dad says people can dance even when they don't stand. He says hearts can dance too." Jack looked away, pretending to fix a shelf. But Lena saw the truth in his eyes. Something inside her shifted that night. She started moving her arms again to music, letting the rhythm live in her upper body. Jack helped build a small platform at the bookstore, just wide enough for Lena to perform again. Word spread, and soon the whole neighborhood came to watch. Parents, children, even strangers stood in awe as Lena spun her wheelchair like wings, her arms painting emotions in the air. But the most beautiful sight was Ellie, clapping wildly beside her father. Months later, during one of Lena's performances, a familiar face appeared at the back of the crowd, her ex-fiancé. He looked stunned, maybe even ashamed. After the show, he approached her. "Lena, I made a mistake," he whispered. She smiled, calm, radiant, free. "No," she said softly. "You gave me the space to find the right kind of love." She turned, and there stood Jack, holding Ellie in one arm and a small velvet box in the other. "I don't care what the world sees," he said, "because I already see everything I need." The crowd fell silent as he knelt, not out of pity but out of respect. "Lena, will you dance through life with us?" Tears streamed down her face. "Yes," she whispered. 1,000 times yes. They didn't have a grand wedding. No cathedral, no designer dress. Just a small garden, fairy lights, and a little girl throwing petals over her new mom. Lena's wheelchair glided softly over the grass as Jack leaned down to kiss her. The world that once mocked her now stood in awe, not because she was healed, but because she was whole. The night of their small garden wedding was quiet, the kind of quiet that felt like peace finally settling after years of chaos. Lanterns swayed softly in the wind. Ellie danced barefoot on the grass, spinning in circles with a crown of wildflowers in her hair. Lena watched her, smiling, and for the first time in her life, she didn't feel broken. She felt chosen. Jack walked over, slipping his jacket around her shoulders. "Cold?" he asked. She shook her head. "Just overwhelmed. I never thought I'd be here again. Not after everything." He knelt beside her wheelchair, meeting her eyes. "You don't owe the world your pain, Lena. You owe yourself your happiness." She touched his hand, rough from years of fixing engines, yet warm and steady. "You gave me back more than happiness, Jack. You gave me my life back." He smiled. "No, you did that. I just reminded you what it looked like." They sat in silence for a moment, watching Ellie chase fireflies. The night air filled with laughter and light. Weeks passed. Lena's bookstore, once nearly empty, was now full every weekend. She started hosting Heart Moves, small dance sessions for people with disabilities. Wheelchairs spun, prosthetic legs tapped, and music filled the room like sunlight. One day, a teenage girl rolled in, tears streaking her face. "They said I'd never be beautiful again," she whispered. Lena took her hands gently. "They said that to me once too," she said, smiling softly. "But look, beauty isn't what walks, it's what rises." That video, someone recorded it and posted it online, went viral within hours. "The paralyzed bride who taught the world to dance again," the caption read. Within weeks, Lena's story reached millions. People from all over the world sent messages. From Canada, "You made my daughter believe again." From the UK, "I've stopped hiding my scars because of you." From the US, "Thank you for reminding us what real love looks like." She read every message with tears in her eyes, always whispering the same thing: "Thank you, Jack." But life, as Lena learned, always tested hearts right after blessing them. One rainy evening, Jack collapsed in the garage. The doctors said it was exhaustion. His heart had been overworked. When Lena saw him lying there, pale and weak, she realized how deeply she loved him. Not as her savior, but as her equal, her home. She held his hand tightly. "You don't get to leave us, you hear me? You still owe me a lifetime of bad dancing." He chuckled weakly. "Then I guess I better stay." He recovered slowly, with Lena by his side every step. And when he finally came home, Ellie ran into his arms, shouting, "Daddy, Mommy made soup." That word, Mommy, echoed in Lena's heart like music. For the first time, she felt complete. Years later, Lena's story became part of a global campaign called Unbroken Hearts. She and Jack traveled, speaking to others who'd been rejected, abandoned, or told they weren't enough. And every time she wheeled onto a stage, she began her talk with the same words: